Thank you to the organizer for inviting me to give, I think, my special experience in France. We are lucky in France because we have a fund for continuing education in every type of work. So every employer, it's mandatory, have to pay a fee to a fund, either for themselves as an employer, but also for their employees. So every year, they are entitled to have a certain amount of training. So basically what I'm doing is training vape shops owners and staff, get paid by them, and they are reimbursed. So it costs nothing to them. There's a big misconception. Smoking is not a disease. It's a behavior. For many, many smokers, they don't feel sick. They are not. The problem is that if they continue to do that behavior, there are diseases in the end. Depending on countries, 50 to 80% of smokers quit on themselves. No help at all. That's the target of vaping for me. So there will always be about 20% of smokers who will be seeking a health path to quit smoking, but most of them will not. And that's the role of the vape shops, to take care of them. Nicotine replacement therapy works as long as you use it with enough nicotine and for a long time enough. As an example, OTC NRT in France is used on average for 15 days. Michael Russell is our champion, our pioneer. He would have loved to see vaping, I'm sure. Because in '91, if you interpret his words, you can figure out that vaping will fit perfectly in this definition. So I'm really persuaded that vaporizers, nicotine vaporizers, are the tools that will help us to see the goal that Michael Russell was planning here, to get rid of tobacco, and particularly tobacco smoking, because there are obviously some forms of tobacco that are also helping smokers to quit smoking. The problem is that nicotine was demonized a long time ago, and that every smokers fear nicotine. All the vape shop staff and owners have one thing in common. They all quit smoking with vaping, so they were smoker once, so they are afraid of nicotine as well. So there is a need for educating vape shops on the role of nicotine in tobacco dependence and on its pharmacological properties and its relative toxicity compared to tobacco smoke. Basically, what I'm doing with them is what I've been doing for more than 30 years now in training health professionals, smoking cessation specialists, to what is nicotine, what's the pharmacology of nicotine, its role in the tobacco dependence, and so on. They have a role, vape shop, they have a role in public health. I mean, the most recent finding in France showed that 1 million smokers quit smoking. Nobody said it officially, but it's mostly thanks to vaping. Vape shops need to reassure smokers. That's the first thing they have to do when a smoker enters a vape shop. To improve my training, I'm also spending days in vape shops trying to switch smokers. So I learned the field work as well. And what I found is that most smokers need a device with a tight airflow. The problem is that most vapors and those in vape shops are the same. Just forgot where they come from. They just forgot with what type of device they quit smoking. And because of the innovation and the new product, most of them think that what they're using currently is the best option, which is not. And also, they have to understand that sometime even light smokers will need a high nicotine level to stop smoking. Because if they smoke less cigarettes a day, when they smoke a cigarette, it's still a cigarette. And maybe they are controlling their behavior, and maybe they're taking more nicotine from each cigarette they smoke. So they have to feel something. If you give them a too low dose of nicotine, it might not work. There is no risk of nicotine overdosing by inhalation. Every smoker knows that. When you smoke too much in the evening, you just get fed up and you get nauseated. So it can never happen. So nobody should be afraid of using a high-strength nicotine liquid. But the first thing is that a smoker needs to learn how to vape. When they were kids, they learned how to smoke. Vaping is different. They have to learn how to do it. I will describe shortly what's happening when a smoker puffs the first time on an e-cig. Sometimes they sweat. Then you have to teach them. A real puff is 3 seconds. Then they have a full mouth of vapor, and glycerol can do the job. If they inhale too much air with vapor, that's what makes them cough. That's the key element to quickly switch a smoker to vaping. And they will have to know also that vaping is slower than smoking in delivering nicotine. So they will have to vape more often and more frequently than what they did with a cigarette. You cannot take 10 puffs of vape and then wait for 2 hours. That will not work. And you may use vaping in pregnant women, thanks to UK for this wonderful booklet that Jean-François Etter in Switzerland translated in French. So I provide this to every shops vape shop I am training, so they can handle this document to pregnant women if they have a fear about using nicotine in vaping. And remember that a pregnant woman metabolizes nicotine twice as fast as when she is not pregnant. So she may need more nicotine. And you can use NRT to supplement vaping because of the TPD in Europe, we are limited to 20 milligrams per mil, and in most shops, the best shops, you will find 18 milligrams per mil. In most shops, you will find 12 milligrams per mil at max. So they need to learn. The choice of liquid is the first step you should do with a smoker in a vape shop. They have to find a flavor they like. That's one of the two components that will provide success: flavor and nicotine. Tasting in vape shop is crucial. It's a pity that, for example, in Belgium, smokers cannot try vaping within the shop. So, because it's really important to teach the smoker how to vape. This is a basic proposition for adapting nicotine level to vaping. Basically, I never respect it. I tend to use the highest level I can use in every smoker, even if it's a light smoker. And I'm also used because, again, of the limitation imposed by the TPD. Over a pack a day, if I have a smoker of a pack and a half or 2 packs, I will recommend to add a patch to provide the nicotine that will be missing with vaping. And what I teach vape shops is to ask smokers to try not smoking for 3 days, to see how it goes. Will there be some cigarettes that will be smoked because there's not enough nicotine coming from vaping? And then encourage them to come back 3 days later and to follow up. How was it? Was it enough or not? And maybe also their taste will already change, and the liquid they took the first time maybe is no longer already the one they will like a few days later. In terms of devices, use simple devices with a battery that will long enough for the day and the evening, and with an atomizer which has a tight airflow, so it will mimic more closely what's going on with a cigarette. And this is all the vape shops I've trained for 3 years now. And I've also trained a few vape shops in Switzerland and one from Belgium. And I have plenty of appointments for new trainings coming in like next week and so on. So this is something very important. Vape shops, the feedback I have after that is that they feel more confident to help smokers, and they feel in a way that they are not just vendors, and that helps a lot to help smokers. Thank you.